about my diet. But they asked me every question that you can ever imagine. And so, day after day, and they finally got around to the point, and they said to me, Mr. Lyman, has anybody ever called you irregardless? I said, yeah. The plaintiff's attorney, he's out there, and he said, now we're getting somewhere. Who? I said, my wife. And the jury's over there saying, yeah, been there, done that. So we're in that courtroom for 6 weeks. The jury comes back and finds Oprah Harpo Production and myself not liable. The cattlemen cannot believe it. They turn around and appeal it to the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals. We're in the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals for a year. They come back with a unanimous panel decision that says Oprah Harpo Production and myself are not liable. And then, in their opinion, they said everything that Lyman said on the show was true, and the truth is not actionable. And the cattlemen turned around and sued us again, and then again, and then again. 6 years after I stood in front of an American audience and told them that we were turning cows into cannibals, 6 years, hundreds of thousands of dollars later, the judge finally threw out the case with prejudice, which meant it could not be refiled and the statute of limitations had run out. Ask yourself this question. Why were they willing to spend millions of dollars to defame us for telling the truth? The fact of it is, what we're doing in confinement agriculture today is absolutely, totally non-sustainable. And I don't care how you want to put a good face on it, it does not exist. The difference between family farmers and factory farmers is a gulf so wide that you could put the Gulf of Mexico in it. What we need to do is to realize that if we are going to deal with this issue in the future, we have to realize that every time you spend a dollar, you're voting on the future. What kind of a future do you want? Do you want to be able to look in the eyes of a child and tell them that we're doing what we can so they will have more natural resources so they will be able to live on this planet? Or are we going to look them in the eye and say, our addiction was so great that we don't care about your future? That's how real it is today. And so, tonight, I don't want you to walk out of here tonight and say, oh, I've heard the gospel according to Lyman. I want you to go and invest yourself in the future. I want you to go to the library. I want you to go to the bookstore. I want you to look up the facts yourself. And I think you will come to the same realization that I do, that the problem that we have with American health today, the number one cause, whether we're talking about heart disease, cancer, diabetes, obesity, the number one cause is animal protein. And this is not about having, we'll just put them in bigger pens. We'll pet them before we kill them. We'll talk about eating smaller portions. USDA is saying today that you should never eat a portion of meat that is larger than a deck of cards. Ask yourself, if you went to the Ruth Chris Steakhouse and they brought you a steak the size of a deck of cards, would you be willing to pay the amount of money to keep their doors open? I don't think so. So, what's it all about? If somebody that spent the majority of their life in production agriculture industry can look at the facts of what we are doing wrong, we're never going to end up with the ability to have enough money to go on television to educate everybody, The only thing that we can do is educate the people that are the closest to them, and that's not about pointing your finger, that's about walking your talk. My family, every couple of years, has a family vacation. We have about 18 to 20 members of the family that will show up. There is only one rule at the family vacation. We go and rent a nice big house somewhere with enough room for everybody, and the one rule is all of the food in the house that we rent has to be vegan. If you want to go and eat animal protein, you've got to go off-site. When we started doing this 15 years ago, there were 2 vegans, my wife and I. Today, the majority of our family are vegan. And we did not do that by pointing at them and telling them what they were doing was wrong. We just wanted them to know that good, healthy food could taste good. And that's how you change what people are eating. And so, let's look at some of the things. If somebody came up to me and they said, all right, wise guy, there's only one thing you can take out of my diet, what will it be? The first thing I would ever take out of anybody's diet would be dairy. I can remember growing up, the statement was, nature's most perfect food, milk. Milk does a body good. It should be, milk does nobody good. Dr. T. Colin Campbell did a study at Cornell University. Dr. T. Colin Campbell, probably one of the most revered nutritionists worldwide, actually did the largest dietary study ever done in the world, which was called the China Project. When he was at Cornell, they did a study where they took rats, and these rats were all genetically engineered to have cancerous tumors. They had no idea in the world what they were going to do with them. They were just looking for something that was cheap to feed them, something they had a lot of. Cornell happens to be a dairy school, and they had casein. 87% of the protein in dairy products is casein. It was cheap, so they decided they would take these rats with cancerous tumors, put them on a diet, just a maintenance diet of 20% protein coming from casein. They did that. All of the rats died. Shouldn't happen. They got another 100 rats, did the same thing, and they all died. And then they got another 100 rats, and they put a third of them on 20% casein diet. They put a third of them on 20% plant-based protein, and then they took the other third and they put them on a 15% protein diet. Those with 20% protein diet from casein all died. Those that were on 15% casein diet, 2/3 of them died. The 20 of them that were on 20% plant-based protein not only lived, but they thrived. And so they learned, Cornell University, that they could take cancerous cells, put them in association with casein, which is 87% of the dairy protein in dairy products, and they could actually grow cancer cells like they threw gasoline on it. They could remove the casein and the cancer cells would stop growing. They could put the casein back and they would grow again. Is there any doubt in your mind the fact that we have 1 out of every 3 Americans today diagnosed with cancer, 1 out of 4 dying of cancer? The consumption of dairy products is skyrocketing. When you think about dairy products, just think about throwing gasoline on the growth of cancer cells. That should be enough to make you decide that the number 1 thing you want to take out of your diet is dairy. Second thing I would recommend you take out of the diet is chicken. Oh, what would the colonel think? Chicken? Nothing out there in confinement chicken operations is getting more chemicals, more hormones.